Alright everyone, welcome to Street City Studio. I'm John, and in this video I wanted to do something a little different. I haven't talked a lot about my 3 3/4 MCU, my live action Marvel Universe, cinematic universe figures. But one of the things that really turned me from a kid playing with toys into an adult collector is was some of these early MCU figures, or Marvel, even before MCU maybe, like the Wolverine movie was the first live action Marvel movie toy line in 3 3/4. And not long after that we had some Spider-Man and Iron Man and Hulk and Thor and Captain America, but Wolverine was really the first Marvel movie to get live action figures. And so I've got quite a bit here, 4-gallon Ziploc bags actually. Oh, there he is. I was trying to find Wolverine, because this is my original Wolverine figure. There he is. From years and years ago now. I've had this guy since the movie came out. What year did they? I should have looked it up before I started the video. But I've done some things to this figure too. I kind of retouched his sideburns because his sideburns were really bad. But I'm probably gonna pause the video and pull out some figures here so we can talk about them. I don't want to sit here and dig through the bags the whole time in front of you. But yeah, we got 4 bags full of figures. We don't have to talk about all of them, but I'm going to pull out some of them that I like a lot, like Wolverine here, so let's do that. Alright, so we're back, and here I'm going to do this in kind of no real strict order, but just to kind of give you a snapshot of some of them first wave figures that I'm talking about, them early year figures, right? We got some Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, right? The Ang Lee and Eric Bana Hulk, right? Captain America, the first Avenger, Iron Man, Thor, right? There's a lot of good toy lines going on at the same time, but they were all kind of the same toy line, really, is how I felt. And so I started collecting them as if they were all the same toy line, right? It was all just my live action Marvel. And that's how I felt about it. Now, this Captain America's the remake from Winter Soldier or whatever, the remade costume, but I think I need to replace my first one because his gun holster's looking a little raggedy and stuff. He's got some scuffs on his head. He's getting old. That's what it is. He's been played with too much. I really like this Tobey Maguire Spider-Man's got magnets on his hands and feet. It's a really fun figure to do some Spider-Man-ing with. Right. I can barely see him. Let's go look at him. See? I like that a lot. That's a cool little thing. I know some guys have lots of figures with magnets, but this is one of my few. I don't have a lot of magnetized figures. And I got this figure kind of cheap, actually. Somebody had taken a Sharpie to it and tried make a symbiote Spider-Man. So I kind of had to do my best to repaint it. So if the colors look a little different than yours at home, that's why. I didn't do too bad though, I think. I'm happy with it. Alright. But I know I was real happy to have this one when I got it. And Mark 0. That's a cool design. It's a really nice detail on all the little lines and the welds and the rivets. Little gears. Nuts and bolts and belts. Pulleys. I always thought that was neat stuff. And I always liked these frost giants just because of how big they are. I never got very far with army building them because I'm not much of an army builder. But I do have the 3. I had to have a couple at least. Anyone that knows me, if I army build, it's just kind of 3 or 5. Gotta have the All-Father, right? Let's try and get him in focus. Show some respect to the All-Father. Yeah, I like that one. You know, we start getting into sequels and the Avengers movie, right? And they were doing things that I was really a big fan of. And I know a lot of people complain, like Loki, right? They gave us Loki in every color variation, in every armor variation that you could imagine. I'm sure it looks like the TVA in somebody's Loki drawer or Loki shelf, right? With all the variants. I've got this in a dark green, in a shiny green, in a brown. And I know some people don't like that, and maybe it's not always appropriate. But I like the effort of trying to give us like background characters, right? Side characters, right? Make sure we've always got villains to fight, right? Army builder figures. Build you a little Ultron army, right? Or your dark elf army. That would have been cool. I kind of always meant to, but the Marvel 3 3/4 figures just kind of fell off. It's not what it was, not what it used to be. And eventually it got to this point where they just canceled all the lines. They canceled the Iron Man figures, the Thor figures, the Captain America, the Avengers, and they started doing things like these funny little 2-packs, or like Captain America with his motorcycle, right? Star-Lord and Yondu, right? Thor versus Hulk from Ragnarok, right? You had to start shopping around for knockoffs or bootlegs, right? Shopping around to out-of-scale lines, the 5-inch line, right? There's one from the 5-inch line, there's one from the 5-inch line. And it got real sad. It was pathetic, even, you know? That's another one from the 5-inch line, actually, now I'm looking, right? They just didn't have any faith in the sales, or I think what they wanted to mark the prices up. They didn't want to make $10. They wanted to make 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 per sale, and that $10 a pop just wasn't good enough for them. But that's really speculation on my part. I have no insider kind of information. I just have some opinions, and I'm not going to focus too much, right, on the negative. But again, that's why you end up with people looking at other sources for the products they need to finish what you started, you know. Even my group, right? I had to kit bash ahead on that 5-inch scale group. And that worked really well. I like that. I like that one a lot. I should show that one off more. I like that figure a lot. It's one of my favorites. These are all my favorites, and they would still be front and center if they hadn't dropped the ball, right? We're 10 years behind now, if not more. And that's a great segue into my point, really, is it there's it's never too late, right? And even now, Marvel getting back into it with these epic hero lines and stuff, and that's great. I'm all for it, right? I got the whole line of the whole team, all the Guardians, the ship. But I'd also like to point out, too, pull them over here, right, is that there's a far cry from this, right? This is an adult collector kind of piece from back when the MCU was going strong. The MCU toys were going strong, right? And this is a good example of a well-done collector vehicle. This is a cheap piece of junk. I like it. I love it. I don't want to act like I don't. I bought it. I had to have it. I paid for it, obviously, right? It's neat, but it's nothing. It's a gimmick. It's just a plastic shell with the little piece separates, but again, it's just nothing. It's just a piece of plastic. But again, I want to get back to my point, is that it's never too late to get back into it, right? Just like Star Wars, right? These movies are 40 years old, 30, 40 years old. It's not too late, right? We might be 10 years behind the ball with these MCU figures, just because they took a hiatus, took that time off. But that don't mean we can't get those figures if they think there's good money in it, right? But obviously we're not going back to $10 a figure for this kind of figure, right? We're not going to get this kind of figure for $10. They're not going to do it. It's not worth it to them. Right, the soft goods and the extra layers of paint and washes, the extra articulation. So I get it, right? I get it. But, I mean, these aren't exactly horrible figures either for $10. Right? He's got them glassy eyes. I like that a lot. But I don't think I was trying to complain so much as just kind of take a look back at some of these figures that really got me collecting. Because if it weren't for these MCU figures and 3 3/4, I didn't get into the Marvel Legends. They came in at a point in time where I probably would have stopped collecting if it weren't for them. Right? Star Wars figures at that time, they still look like these retro figures. They didn't look good to me. They weren't right? They hadn't quite gotten to that point where this vintage collection line is. And when they started doing these nice looking vintage collection figures, I came right back. But, right, just like the MCU. You start making good figures, I'll come right back. I think that's my point, right? Start making them good figures, I'll come right back. You put out nice ships like this one, I'll buy them, right? But not if the money's funny. All right, I don't want to pay $30 for a figure with no wrists. But I'll happily pay $10 for the right figure with no wrists. All right. You want me to pay $20 for that same figure? Give them a few extra washes, the full articulation treatment, maybe some soft goods if it calls for it. All right. It ain't that hard. A lot of people are willing to spend money on these franchises, I think. But these franchises aren't bringing the products to the table. That's the problem. Alright, I don't want to complain too much though. I just wanted to take a look at some really cool figures. What do you guys think? You guys got little Marvel Cinematic Universe collections? Let me know about it. I'd love to hear about it. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. You keep playing with them toys. I'll talk to you again real soon.